Good afternoon, everyone. I am Meet Jain and a co-founder of Meet Goods Club. I am also a good friend of Sonam Uncle. Uh, I will discuss the agenda today's meet. So starting with the presentation by Mr. Dilip Jain on why is Sonam Wangchuk doing a climate fast? Why is Dilip Jain attached to Sonam Wangchuk and in this cause? Why should we save mountains, rivers, and forests? What is the problem? How can we save mountain, rivers, and forests? What is the solution? And how will fasting help us? Followed by the talk by Mr. Dilip Jain, we will have Sonam Uncle joining us, who will talk for another 15 to 20 minutes on the climate fast. And y'all can reach out to us after that or in the middle of the meet by the Q&A tab or the chat tab. Thank you.
Hello, friends. It audible? Okay, so good afternoon to all of you, and nice to see all of you wanting to do climate fast along with us. Uh, so let me take 10-15 minutes to give brief context before Sonam joins in. So Sonam is doing this climate fast for two reasons primarily. One is to safeguard Ladakh's fragile ecosystem from uncontrolled development that might come if certain safeguards are not taken into consideration, for which he is asking for protection under Schedule 5 and Schedule 6, which is available for population, for places which have significant tribal population. Also, the reason for this is that if glaciers melt, one-fourth of the humanity is dependent on glacier, so it needs to be protected. So that is the first and the main reason for him doing the climate fast. And second reason is he wants to tell all of us, he wants to request all of us to adopt simple lifestyle, minimalism, so that we all can maintain ecological, social, and spiritual balance along with economical well-being. So these are his two reasons, but we will hear from him more on the whole thing, more on his perspective once he joins soon. Why am I attached to him and this cause? So I have a relationship of more than 20 years with Sonam, and I have volunteered with him on many initiatives. I have my own concern for ecosystems in Aravali's and Sahyadris, where my foundation, Jet Foundation, works on ecological restoration and regeneration. I've quit my corporate and professional career after doing my CA MBA and working in it for almost 2 decades to work on ecological and educational causes. And I believe in practicing the fundamental principle of Jainism, ahimsa in all its form and spirit. So with all the work that I have done and I'm doing, I've developed some wisdom to say that currently we have been brainwashed significantly by celebrities to keep consuming beyond needs, by corporates who want to keep growing beyond boundaries, with support of system which is broken beyond repairs. So these are my reasons to do and support this cause. Okay. Uh, so, this whole mountains, rivers, and forest, I call them MRF, mountains, rivers, and forest. So, what is the problem? Why should we save them? What is the need to save them? So, if we just look at it very mathematically or in terms of a simple equation, then we know that when mountains and rivers come together, we get forest. When mountains, rivers, and forests come together, we have animal life. And when mountains, rivers, forest, and animals come together, we have humans. So sustainability of MRF, mountain, river, and forest are core to existence of humanity and all life forms. However, over last few decades, there has been significant population growth, but more than that, there has been significant growth in consumption, in consumerism. And if we just look at a simple example that, in 1980s, for example, say a TV or a refrigerator, there was, one TV between, say, two neighbors, and they would share it. So if there were 20 families with 8 people, we would have just 10 televisions. In 2000, there was one TV for each family. In 2010, we had two in each family, because the nuclear family, one is nuclear family and second is need to have two in each family. And now we have one gadget for each member. So simply, if you look at it, the population has grown maybe by 3 or 4 times, but the product or the product usage has grown by almost 30 to 40 times. Now, when the product usage goes so much, when the product usage grows 30 to 40 times, obviously there is impact on MRF. So there is 30x means more extraction, more production, more transportation, more waste. Along with this comes use efficiency. So for example, earlier there was one car in a family, everybody would use it, and the use efficiency of that car would be, say, 50%. Out of 8 hours, they would be using it 4 hours. Now there are 4 cars in a family, so use efficiency has gone down to maybe less than 1 hour in a day. So it is not just population which is increasing the consumerism, but also the narrative that we need to consume more and we need to have less use efficiency, which is leading to almost 30x growth in consumption or buying of products. And this is obviously resulting in damage to mountains, rivers, and forest ecosystem, and therefore animal life and human life. No wonder that in last 50 years, more than 50 or 60% of animal population has gone wiped off from the world. So this is one reason why we need to save MRF, because our survival is based on that, and consumerism is one big reason. Secondly, we have this huge focus on growth and profitability. While it has its own merit and everybody needs development, but the current narrative of growth means amplify the consumption, reduce the use efficiency, and on other end, the profit maximization means maximize the use of resources, be it human or natural, without caring for long-term sustainability. No wonder that as per Oxfam, we are in a time where only survival of the richest is the key. No wonder that 1% controls 40% of the wealth, and hungry people in India have almost doubled in last few years. This is also because of concentration of capital and resources. So those who have too much forever and they do little, and those who don't have work a lot daily but don't have enough to survive. So it's all, they are trapped in this multidimensional poverty with no capital, no resources, no influence, no education. And it is added that they don't even have MRF, which is mountain, rivers, and forests, which would provide them self-sustainability in their own little village wherever they are. So this whole infinite materialistic growth on a finite planet, this narrative is something which is one of the significant cause of climate change. So what can we do to save MRF? What is the solution? Firstly, it is to correct the narrative that most people in cities are living with. While growth and development is needed, but we need balance of ecology, society, spirituality, or else this growth becomes lopsided and not sustainable. It can't benefit few at cost of many. For this, we need to get the fundamental belief and logic system right. We have been heavily brainwashed or conditioned in last 100 years, and therefore our belief system and logic doesn't work the way it should be. It's all, a lot of it is greenwashing. And therefore the solution is to set limits. Of course, set limit doesn't mean we have to be lazy, but we can't be crazy on one dimension. And the solution is to live simply, as Sonam says, I live simply, or to have minimalism or lifestyle for environment. All our masters and sages and ancestors followed this. All our religious preach that we have to consume less, but the colonial and Western mindset has made us consume more and more and more without knowing what the limit is. The point is not to sacrifice our comfort or our needs, but to consume what is really essential. When there is less need, there is less ecological damage, there is more social harmony, there is less pressure to earn more at any cost. And therefore, we get out of the rat race and have opportunity to follow our passion, develop relationships, serve others, and unravel mysteries of life. I've been trying to follow this path for almost 10 years now, and I must say that it is really helping me a lot on many dimensions. So this is why we should save mountains, rivers, and forests. And lastly, there was a question: how would fasting help? Why fast to? Why do this climate fast? How is it going to help? So fasting is nothing but a mechanism since ages to set limits. And fasting is not just about fasting of food, but also putting limits to our bad emotions, to our thoughts, to hatred, to greed, to jealousy, also to other consumption, be it plastic, be it car, or be it gadgets. Fasting is to set limit to all of these uh, personality driven uh, craves, which are influenced more by the marketing and communication of the time than real needs of human. Also, fasting is for inner and outer nature. It is for betterment of our own health as well as health of the planet. Fasting helps us to move beyond physical needs and look at things at a higher level. It is also a good mechanism to create awareness and mobilize strength. Fasting is a mechanism to control the lower and ignite the higher. The sacrifice word comes from sacred. It is to make something sacred. So fasting is also a tool to make something else sacred for a higher cause and mission. And it's a mechanism for body, soul, and mind to work for collective good rather than personal selfish interest. It is to limit short-term pleasures for long-term satisfaction of self, not just this life, but maybe many lifetimes. Fasting is to curb materialism and follow minimalism. It is to I live simply. It is life for environment. And it is a very good tool to do all this thing in a very participative, non-violent or ahimsic way. And therefore, most great people became great by venturing into forest and by following fasting, be it Gandhi, Buddha, or Mahavira. We can also try to attempt to walk this path because there is a hidden secret in fasting. It is a secret step to evolution. With this, I would pause here and we will play a 5-minute video, post which Sonam will join us and give his talk. Meet the climate fast that you are doing, and also the I Live Simply movement, and everybody introduce themselves also. So without taking much time, I just want to give you the charge and you can talk about the climate fast.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you can see here or I can show you, but
Sonam, you'll have to unmute yourself, please.
yes, I'm going to. Just a minute. Okay, can you hear me?
All good, Sonam. Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry about the time that we spent in this. This is like a lock that the owner can't open, huh? Too secure for our own good. So anyway, good things don't come easy. So that's how you have to take. Warm greetings from a frozen Ladakh. I don't know if I can show you. Let me show you how it looks outside my windows. Do you see how it's very cloudy and cold right now? Polar kind of environment, but in my room it is plus 20 degrees happily, thanks to our solar heated mud houses. Very simple but effective. Um, Good to know that you have all been interested in safeguarding our environment and associating with voices that are trying to um, do so. And I've always said that we need to take care of our own places and the nation will take care of itself. So many people were approaching to come and join me in this fast, but I think it's much better that you do it in your areas, what you can do and what needs to be done. And if we each do even 10 square kilometers around ourselves, then the country is well covered and more than that. So all the best with what you are trying to do to keep your surroundings and your immediate environment with its nature and people, particularly children and those that are disadvantaged. If we all take care of people around us, nature around us, then the planet is safe and sound. So in my case, I'm trying to do something for things around me. And as you may know, the ecology here is very sensitive and cannot take the burden of a metro city or concentrated populations, which is what our fear is, that with the opening of Ladakh as a union territory, it will be left open to exploitation by industries, by mining and so on. Because now Ladakh is like any place like Chandigarh or Lucknow or Mumbai, but the difference is that it is not. It is a very sensitive, fragile mountain desert, which can collapse if it is stretched beyond what it can carry. Already it is collapsing. It has not even been open to industry while it was in J&K, and still tourism alone has been quite toxic. You know, if you look at tourism alone, which is beyond these safeguards that we are seeking, tourism this year was 6 lakh, which is twice the local population, 3 lakhs. So you can imagine what it does. And add to that, this tourism of 6 lakh comes in 5 months in a 5 square kilometer area, whereas the region is 50,000 square kilometers, but it concentrates on a township of Leh, which is 5 square kilometers. Then it becomes toxic. So already with tourism alone, we see so many cracks in the ecology. So imagine what will happen when heavy mining and all kinds of industries come here to exploit what is in the mountains, and the dust and the pollution and the carbon, the black carbon. There are research studies that are coming out that it's not just global warming, which we can easily wash our hands saying it is global, so we can't do anything, although we are each a part of that globe that makes it bad or good. But now the recent studies say that human activities in these areas directly affect the state and health of the glaciers. So in Kargil and Dras, there were studies done on 17 glaciers, and they were melting much faster than others because they were in the vicinity of the highway, which carries all these diesel taxis for tourists and all these smoke belching trucks to bring them all the things that they need in their Mumbai and New York and Paris. So all that is causing a lot of our glaciers to melt. And some may think Ladakhis are oversensitive about their glaciers. A, it is not oversensitive. It needs to be even more. B, it is not only for Ladakh. The glaciers in Ladakh and the Himalayas feeds or elements or irrigates roughly 100 crore people on the Indian subcontinent, which means half the population of India depends directly or indirectly on Himalayan glaciers, and similar amount on the Chinese side, where the Yellow River and others flow towards the north. So it's 2 billion people that depend on these glaciers, which makes it the 1/4 of the world's population. And yet, like the classic story, we are chopping the branch that we are sitting on. And that's called development and cleverness. But we don't need more cleverness. We need more wisdom that can think of decades and generations ahead. Unfortunately, democracy doesn't favor wisdom. Democracy favors cleverness, a quick fix solutions to please the people and the industries in the next 5 years. That's the sight that our political leaders hold. So we have to bring the wisdom element in their decisions to look at 5 decades rather than 5 years. And that's why sometimes people have to raise their voice. The good thing is democracy allows us to raise our voice and change the policies, compel the governments to change their policies. But most of us don't even use it. This is a privilege that democracy gives us, but we use it only to dirty our streets and pee in the walls and all that, and shout some slogans here and there, and really not to care and nurture our planet. So this time we thought, why not use this democracy? If we can't use this, then we might as well have been born in China, you know, where at least the trains run on time and some things are better. But if we have freedom, then we might as well use to bring some sense to this process called democracy. And that's what we are exactly trying to do, to protect our part of the planet, and you should do for your part of the planet. And here in this case, yes, finally, when our leaders were not taken seriously by the government because it was a voice limited to the mountains, and your voice doesn't cross the mountains, and a voice limited to some 3 lakh people, and they don't care about 3 lakh people. So I thought we should take the strength and support of the nation rather than just these 3 lakh people who will be the victims of it. We have a great nation with people who can voice their own support for such things. And that's why I, through that video, made an appeal to the Prime Minister, but it was actually indirectly to the people of India to use their voice to make it reach the Prime Minister through the people. If I was given an appointment to meet the Prime Minister, it would have just been a cordial, good hi and bye with some tea and things and maybe some more comfort for me. But that would have ended there. But by sending this message to the Prime Minister through the people of India, like yourselves, it makes a lot of strength and effect at the other end. And we see that things are slowly moving. We already hear that government is preparing to enter in talks on the agendas of the leaders of Ladakh. And, you know, it may sometimes look to them a little irritating, but this is the process of democracy. And I'm sure they must have used it themselves when they were on the other side of the table. So we are only using it for a very genuine and needy, timely purpose. So I begin my climate fast from tomorrow, and I'll be there for 5 days. The thing is, you know, you have to draw attention of the powers and the people to a serious issue. And sometimes we are so asleep and we are so deaf that we don't hear. And then you have to make a noise. You have to draw attention so they see it. There are different ways. Sometimes people use somewhat violent ways to draw the attention of powers and people, like take hostages or hijack a flight, inflict pain on others. In my case, I'm trying to inflict some pain on myself and no one else to draw the attention of the people and the Prime Minister. And that's why I've chosen a difficult place like the Khardungla, -40, 18,000 feet. The harder you do, the more serious people understand is the issue. If I just sit eating here and say to you that please change the policies, who cares? I mean, I'll be just rolling around if you don't do anything. But if lives are at threat and pressure of the people like yourselves is looming, then governments may be forced to think of action and some alarm, some urgency is important, is what we thought. But, and this but is the biggest but that I'm going to share with you, we really don't think that only a prime minister or a government can save our mountains or the glaciers. It's one thing for them to make policies and give safeguards, but it is actually people who have to change their lifestyles. It's the people's lifestyles in cities like Bombay, Bangalore, Beijing, and Paris and New York that's actually causing much of the challenges up in the mountains for the glaciers and down at the coast for the people who are at the seashores as sea levels rise. And here, as the glaciers melt, you know, in few decades, we'll not even be left here. We'll have to become climate refugees as water dries up, and without water, this is like Moon or Mars, unlivable. So therefore, I'm making it a kind of twin approach, where on one hand, I urge the Prime Minister to act, but on the other hand, I'm urging the people to get their acts together when it comes to climate and environment, to live lives that are simpler and change their lifestyles. And in this case, I welcome and support an initiative of the Prime Minister himself, the movement called Lifestyles for the Environment, if you have heard. If not, please look up. It's a very beautiful movement he launched at the COP27 for globally, called Lifestyles for the Environment, urging people to change their lifestyles. And that's what I would do alongside. On one hand, I hold the Prime Minister, you know, for taking care of the Ladakhi mountains and glaciers. On the other hand, where he takes a good initiative, I'm supporting that lifestyle change initiative. And I'm saying that at least 1 million people should take pledges on 26 January to join me and sit maybe on a one-day fast, one-day climate fast, and reflect on their lifestyles and take pledges to change from carbon intensive ways to climate friendly ways. And many of you may know, we already have a nice, beautiful, fun platform called ilivesimply.org. It's a movement to make people think of living simpler lives, because if they live simply in the big cities, then we in the mountains can simply live. And this platform you can use to register your climate change and behavior change pledges. This platform is designed like a crowdfunding site where you don't contribute your money, because the planet doesn't need your money, but you contribute your pledges to change your lifestyle. So do look up. You can choose to change from cars to bicycles, better still walking, or from aeroplanes to trains or public transport, or pledge to plant trees, pledge not to waste food. You know, I'll just give you one example. Agriculture is the third most polluting carbon emissive industry. And after all this pollution and emission, when the food finally comes on our plate, what do? We throw half of it. We eat half and throw half of it. If this was what we were to do, then why didn't we do half the agriculture and emit half, pollute half, and half only of our glaciers would melt? So we can understand what people need, but we cannot understand what people waste, whether it is agriculture or clothes that you buy and never even wear. To make those clothes, half our glaciers have melted. Yes, you need clothes to wear, but you don't need clothes to stock in your wardrobes for decades or throw away to become garbage on the streets. So this is what we need to change also, and not expect only from the government. And that's what I urge alongside with the this change in Ladakh status to 6 schedule safeguards. I do hope you all will think about these and not just think, but act in your own regions and make your own parts beautiful and clean and, yeah, harmonious. And that's the surest way to make this planet beautiful and harmonious. I'll have to take leave soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sonam, so much. It is really pleasure listening to you. And I must tell you that just in last one day, we got more than 1,000 people who have shown intent to fast tomorrow. Out of those 1,000 people, 200 have registered on Google form that they are surely fasting. And of those 270 came for the call today, where we did a poll also before you joined in, and 98% of us are fasting. And more than fasting, we also went through why we are fasting, everything that you mentioned about Ladakh, as well as I Simply movement. And then we had an interaction amongst us. So it is fabulous having you here. And we all are with you in whatever you do, the way you do it. And we are committed to this.
Thank you. Thank you for all your initiatives and mobilizing and reminding people of what world shattering things that they can do on their own. Thank you, everyone. All the very best. Thank you. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. We'll see you sometime, I hope, and meet more properly. This was quick and I have only few hours left to prepare for tomorrow. So thank you. And
guys, we can loudly say a bye to Sonam. You can unmute yourself and
okay.
Bye, Jai Hind.
Bye.
Bye, Sonam.
Bye.
Uh,
Bye, Sonam. Thank you
Bye,
so
Sonam.
much.
Very
to you,
best.
Sonam.
Bye,
More
Sonam.
power to
Sure.
you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Star, so thanks.
We are with you.
One of you. Thank you. Thank you.
bye, Sonam. Thank you.
Yes, Dada.
Okay, guys, bye. See you. We'll chat further on the group and we'll listen to what your stories about fasting maybe day after tomorrow. So till then, take care.